Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for your interest in Future Peds Res. And my name is Caroline, and I have Stephanie on here as well. And we are just so excited to give you a little bit more information about our leadership and what we do and kind of what our mission of Future Peds Res is. So we just thank you so much for being here. So what we are going to do tonight is first we are going to just introduce you to our organization. Then we're going to talk a little bit about what the leadership is and what the different roles within our team are and what those roles entail. Then we're going to outline the application process for you. And then we won't have any Q&A as this is going to be pre-recorded, but please feel free to send us any questions that you have about the application or the process to our Future Peds Res Gmail. That would be perfect.
What is Future Peds Res and who do we represent? My name is Stephanie Maeda and I use she, her pronouns. I'm currently a fourth year student at Western University of Health Sciences who have applied into pediatrics.
And my name is Caroline Maltese. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a fourth year student at Penn State College of Medicine, and I also applied pediatrics and happily served alongside Stephanie.
And this couldn't be possible without our support from our faculty advisors. We would like to give a shout out to Dr. Michael Dell, who is the Vice Chair for Education and the Division Chief School of Medicine and Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital. And he is also a member of the Association of Pediatric Program Directors. And we would also like to give a shout out to Miss Colleen Hughes, who is the Associate Executive Director for APPD.
Our organization would also not be possible without the help of Dr. Rachel Thompson. She is our CompSep faculty advisor and an assistant professor of pediatrics, and she works at Boston University Chobanian and Avedisian School of Medicine.
So who does Future Peds Res represent? We may be referring to ourselves as FPR throughout this PowerPoint, but we really represent the Association of Pediatric Program Directors, or APPD, and then also the CompSep organization. And these are two organizations that strive to connect residency program leadership to future pediatric applicants and also residency programs, and really focus on the recruitment and retention of medical students into the field of pediatrics.
Okay, and so Future Peds Res, just a little bit of backstory about us, is we are an organization who was built on the need for extra support when interviews became completely virtual during the COVID-19 pandemic. And so our organization has persisted and there's continued to be a need for us in this space. And so we are happy to adapt as we move away from that time. So our current goals are to support recruitment efforts in the field of pediatrics and to work with all those organizations that Stephanie was just talking about, and then adapt to what the needs of the applicants are and also the needs of the residency programs are. So that includes moving towards both a synchronous and an asynchronous format for our programming, hosting large group webinars, and also highlighting programs on our website as well. And then we take what we have learned from our process and we report that back to program leadership and continually try to improve and meet the needs of both of these groups.
So we just wanted to be really transparent about the anticipated timeline of the FPR 2025 and 2026 season. Here we are down in January, and this is when our leadership application will open, and we'll start beginning that leadership transition and reviewing applications in early February. At this time, this is when we'll start having some of the transition meetings and also opportunities, depending on your role, to participate in some of the APPD, which are those program director meetings. March 2025 is when we will continue to be supporting the next leadership, and as they start to shape out what they want this season to look like. And we will also have an APPD meeting to incorporate leadership feedback on how to improve this upcoming season. April and May are definitely going to be very busy times at which we are executing the blueprint for FPR 2025 and 2026. We really envision this upcoming season to be two-part. There will be both a portion where we'll keep the live mentoring webinars, which will occur throughout the summer months, but then also move highlighting some of the residency programs to a more virtual format. And so, depending on your role, you will be involved in contacting those programs, gathering some information, and also compiling this onto a very easy to navigate digital format for applicants to view at their own leisure. Um, June, July, and August is when ERAS is opening up and application season is really getting into full swing, and we'll be hosting some of those webinars, which will go into greater detail. September is when we think it would be great to host an interviewing webinar, as this is once ERAS has been submitted, and this is when people will start to start prepping for the residency interviews, which begin in October 2025. November is also a busy month with residency interviews, but it's when folks start to think about attending second looks and how to rank some of those programs. So a webinar would be great to have in that around that month as well. And then the end of the year is when feedback will be collected and the next leadership transition will begin.
Perfect. And so, with all of these changes that we're making, and that we anticipate for the future of FPR, this is what we envision the leadership structure looking like, and working with this kind of format to promote the most productivity and efficiency of the team. And that looks a little bit different from this last year. So we just wanted to give you a general layout of what this would look like, and then we're going to go through each of these roles individually and kind of detail more in depth what the expectations for those roles would be. So at the top, we have two co-directors, and this is, from our experience, definitely a two-person job. So it is always good to have somebody that is in your corner working right alongside you. And then underneath these, we have webinar teams, public relation teams, and special teams. So we'll get into all of those individual roles in just a couple moments here. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about the requirements for these roles. And we want to make sure that you know sort of what you're getting into if you would choose to apply to these positions and ultimately be selected to fulfill them. So it's about a 1-year commitment in total. And we don't want to downplay the amount of work that this takes. This is a significant commitment. Thinking about maybe 20 hours in 1 month, and we know some months are a little bit busier than others. But the expectation is that there's live meetings that you would be expected to attend, and these live meetings have a lot of facilitating from the team. So having strong communication skills and being punctual to these things and being communicative are really skills that are going to come in handy if selected to fulfill these positions. And then another requirement is going to be that you are somebody who is actively applying into the field of pediatrics or a pediatric subspecialty. And like I said previously, strong organization and communication skills are going to really suit whoever is going to fill these positions well. And also the ability to work in a team, get feedback, solicit that from the people that you're working with, and also adapt accordingly. And I will say, you don't have to have these skills that are like the most refined that they've ever been, but having some baseline in these areas and then being able to grow into these roles is really something that is going to benefit the team in the future.
All right, and now we're going to dive into some of the individual leadership responsibilities and roles. First, we're going to start off with the roles of co-directors. We envision this will be a two-person job because this is a very involved process, which these people will definitely oversee the FPR efforts and really be the grounding leadership for the special teams, the webinar team, and then also the public relations team to be able to look up to and ask questions. They will be responsible for attending APPD meetings, individual team meetings, and also help finding guest speakers, which oftentimes these are physicians who are involved in medical education and passionate about helping with recruitment into the field of pediatrics. They will also be in charge of managing the FPR email box, which can get very busy at times, and responding in a very professional manner. meeting with the FPR faculty leadership to make sure that we are, answering any kind of questions that are had are answered, and that we are still aligning with FPR's vision and goals. And this role really is the highest level of commitment, which can take upwards of 10 hours a week during certain busy months. And a new opportunity that we would like to offer up is that this position actually may have an in-person commitment at potential conferences with residency program leaders, and opportunities to highlight the great efforts that FPR is doing in recruiting students and members into the field of pediatrics.
All right, moving on to our next role, and this falls under the webinars team, is a general webinar lead. And so the expectations of this role would be to create presentations for live meetings that take a variety of forms, but mainly this would be involved in mentoring applicants. So they would work with the co-directors to communicate potential speakers, they would create presentations, and then they would, in a live digital format, present those presentations to a group of potential applicants. So if you're familiar with the work that we did last year, we had a navigating ERAS and a kickoff webinar, and then we did a series of equity webinars for DO students, IMG applicants, and LGBTQ applicants as well. We worked with SOPT to conduct a personal statement workshop, and then also detailed some interviewing tips for applicants in a second webinar as well. So those are things that have really worked well for us in the past. Would be totally open to any new ideas that a general webinar lead would have. But definitely these are some things that we would love to see for FPR's future. And the general webinar lead would be responsible for sort of coordinating and executing all of those kinds of webinars.
All right, and next we'll be talking about the associate regional lead. This has been a role that has been around in past FPR seasons, but this year we'll really be taking on a new meeting with moving to a both live, but then also asynchronous version of FPR. And so some of the roles and responsibilities of this position will be to communicate with program leadership within a designated ERAS region, primarily via email. And some of those communications will involve gathering a completed PowerPoint slide of the information to highlight the pediatric residency program's specific traits. And this information will be accompanied by a pre-recorded video from someone in the program leadership, ideally the program director or an associate program director, to really highlight some of these qualities. And once that information is collected, it will be hosted on the FPR website. So you'll be working very closely with the website design specialist to publish this type of media to really highlight the pediatric residency programs. And one of the reasons we feel that it was really important to adapt this role from past roles of having a live webinar is with the recruitment season remaining virtual, a lot of programs have actually been having their own open houses and being able to display their information in a live way. And so we felt that, being able to short, quick video that really highlights and celebrates what makes a program unique and special, but then also having it in a very standardized way that each applicant is able to look through an asynchronous format would be very beneficial for people to be able to compare certain qualities that they're looking for in a residency program.
Perfect. So the next role that we're going to talk about falls under the public relations category, and this is our graphic designer. So this person is going to be crucial in utilizing various digital platforms, whether that be Canva, whether that be Photoshop, to create a series of posts to highlight upcoming webinars or FPR events. So this is a graphic design for our social media team. Posts that would be on Instagram, stories that would be on Instagram, other things that we would use to advertise the events that we're having. And then on the other hand, they would also be in charge of designing that standardized template that Stephanie was talking about that the programs would fill in their information and that we would be able to utilize for the website. So that would be part of the role. And then as part of this, because this is such a crucial role, if you are interested in applying to this position, we are going to have a small little prompt on the application that asks you to design a post. And if you would be able to submit a sample of your work, that would really help us to determine who would be the best fit for this role.
All right, next we will go ahead and highlight the social media chair. And this is a role that I think is very crucial in highlighting some of the work that FPR does in connecting applicants to our information and to the organization. And so this person will be in charge of running social media platforms to market upcoming events. This primarily has been Instagram, and we found that we have the biggest following on this, but you will be posting graphics as designed by the graphic designer, and then also reposting and marketing pediatric residency programs, posts and other things that we are tagged in so that we can also uplift the other recruitment efforts in the field of pediatrics. Another really important role when you are not making posts will be to manage FPR's Instagram box and be able to triage requests appropriately. I think this both includes sharing the posts that we mentioned, but then also sometimes we get questions from potential applicants and programs. And so being able to voice those concerns to leadership is a crucial portion of this role. And so this position may require a couple minutes of time every single day to make sure that we are staying up to date on the inbox and then also responding to things in a timely manner because as we all know, sometimes Instagram stories disappear within a few hours.
All right, perfect. And next is our website designer. So this person with this kind of transition from completely synchronous to now some asynchronous content is going to be so, so important, along with our graphic designer and all the other members of the team, of course. But this person is going to revamp the website that we have, as this is going to house all of that really important information that is moving to the more asynchronous format. So they are going to put FPR events on the website. They're going to put all of the program information, and then they're going to also house all of the recorded sessions that are the live components of our organization. There's also some component of outreach to residency programs if they want other media uploaded to the website. But the majority of this time commitment is going to be in the earlier part of that year-long commitment, as that's when really we would be actively building the website, getting all the information uploaded, and getting that for applicants to use as they work through that earlier part of the application process and cycle. And so this person is really going to be needed right off the bat. And so we prefer that this person is going to be pretty proficient in website building and design and have some experience in that department. Because as we know, it is not an easy task. So we would love to have somebody who has some experience.
All right. Next, moving into the special teams, and these are actually two brand new positions that we have created for this upcoming leadership season and FPR season that we really wish that we had working alongside us because they will be so crucial in working and collaborating with some of the other organizations that have the same mission. And so first, we will be highlighting the APPD and ComSep researcher, and this will be a person who attends those monthly APPD meetings alongside the co-directors, which occur the second Wednesday of every month from 12 p.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern. And these are really an important meeting that would be a requirement of attending with this role. And so I think it's important to keep in mind that these often occur during clinical duties, depending on what time zone you are in. And so being mindful about those time differences will be helpful when applying for this role. Once you attend these meetings, you'll be addressing and taking notes on APPD leadership's questions and being able to take those questions that they have and design simple surveys and use our media platforms to administer these surveys via webinars, on social media, or also via our email listserv, and take the feedback and results and present those findings alongside the co-directors to the APPD leadership on both these monthly meetings and also the potential conferences. And so again, this is another one of those positions that may have an in-person commitment at potential conferences to collaborate and work alongside some of the really great residency program directors.
And last but not least is our second new position, which is a collaboration specialist. So, like we said previously, there are some webinars that we have put on that are in collaboration with other organizations, including SOPT, Next Gen Peds, other pediatric specific groups. And so you would be in charge of number one, communicating with all of these other groups. And then number two, creating these presentations and really conducting these webinars in collaboration with the other groups. So you're managing email, you are communicating in whatever form that takes, and then actually putting on these webinars. And so that would require some element of outreach. And yeah, to come up with something that is a cohesive product between the different organizations. So again, the skills that are going to be useful is clear communication skills, organization, along with all of these other positions as well. But we're super excited for the future of the collaboration that we have with this organization.
And we also have great ties to some of our community organizations. And so we'll be passing along those ties to set everybody up for success for the next webinar season. But now we want to move into some of the logistics on the application process. And so what to expect for the timeline. The applications are now live and they can be found on this Google form. They will be closing on January 31st. And this is the informational session, which we will make this PowerPoint available. And then also this webinar will be posted and available for you to reference. We also want to make ourselves available. And so you can reach out to us at the FPR email, which will be, or through our Instagram, which we will make available for folks to reach out to us at. Um, we anticipate that applicant selection will be announced in early February 2025, but we also acknowledge that, the hospital schedule can be very, very busy, and so we will try to provide updates if we anticipate that being pushed back at all. Late February and then early March is again when some of those transition meetings will be occurring. And so we would just like to thank you again so much for your interest in you being part of the Future Peds Res leadership team. These efforts would not be possible without the interest of individuals who are hoping to go into the field of pediatrics. And we also wanted to thank you for your dedication to the field and congratulate you on everything that you have accomplished thus far. We really encourage you to apply and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Please let us know if you have any questions.